Chapter 7. The Prophecy, and the prophecy was written. One day, a troubled youth was journeying south. He was near the coastline, on the edge of Yorkshire, where those lands change from highlands to low moorland and grow marsh-like and wild. He needed to cross a great river, a tidal estuary with a strong current. The river was deep, turbulent, and vast. The youth could just see the land on the other side of the river. It floated in the morning mist there, on the very edge of the horizon. He watched as the wild northern sea roared inland, mile after mile. As the local people said, when the full moon shone during the spring flood tide, the wild waves had been known to run to the city walls of far York itself. On this day, many people had boarded the ferry boat. The boat waited against the rickety pier on the northern bank of the Great Umber. Its cable was loose, and the boat bobbed up and down, restlessly eager to depart. At that moment, an elderly man stepped out of the morning fog. He appeared so suddenly that many of the passengers were heard to gasp aloud. Some made a swift movement with their fingers, warding off the evil, the magic. The old man had a fine long beard. It was white and grey and flowed down to his waist. He was dressed in a heavy travelling cloak. He called out to the ferry boat, pointing to a young boy travelling alone. "Boy, please stay your travels for a moment. I must speak with you. My need is urgent." The old man's manner was very sincere. The young boy was embarrassed, but he had no choice but to disembark, if only for a few moments. The old man talked energetically with the boy. Their conversation stretched onward, moment after moment. The morning started to pass away as the clouds rolled in off the wild northern sea. Soon, the tide started pulling at the ferry boat, and the passengers grew impatient as they waited for the boy. The ferryman shouted to him to make haste. The boy wanted to return to the boat, but something compelled him to stay. A strange feeling held him fast. It was as if his feet were fixed to the ground, like the roots of a tree. When the passengers saw that the boy still had not returned, they urged the ferryman to leave. He nodded his head, fearing they would miss the tide. The ferryman threw the boy's travel bag roughly onto the bank. He did not care, for he had already received the boy's fare. He could always pick him up again tomorrow. And so the boat set sail without the boy. It floated effortlessly out into the river. The boy continued his conversation with the old man. He was very unhappy when he noticed that the ferry boat had left without him, for he had travelled far to take that ferry, and now the old man had caused him to miss the boat. And because the river was tidal, he would now have to wait a whole day for the ferry to return. The boy was so angry that he almost started to shout at the old man when something strange happened to make him stop his tongue. The old man had let out a long, deep breath. It was almost a sigh. It oozed out of the man softly, gently. The boy's face turned from a scowl to a slow smile, and he could smell the lavender as it floated in the air. The wind grew swiftly as it blew down the river, and the waves rose higher and higher. The wide river became choppy, and white breakers performed acrobatics upon the waves. They looked like the many heads of a herd of wild horses as they stampeded, rushing inland. The sky turned a dark, deep purple, and lightning shot down from the clouds. It danced across the water's surface, sizzled as it ran among the waves, and whipped them higher still. A mighty growl of thunder roared in the boy's ears. The people on the boat became very afraid. The women started to scream, and the babies began to cry. The passengers pleaded with the ferryman to return to the shore. The waves rose rapidly, a foaming mass of white and grey. They surged and reached a terrible height. The boat was tossed from wave to wave. It rolled from side to side, and from those waves appeared several dozen hands, human in shape and yet not quite. The hands were grey and green. The webbed fingers stretched to meet webbed finger. The hands of the jinn. They reached out of the water and grabbed the boat's sides. They began to rock it violently to an ancient rhyme. The jinn's voices harmonized, and a song danced hauntingly on the wind. It was a sad lament, as if the song was a cure for their misfortunes. Their head upon their breast, not away swim thee, till on came the ship of the Turkish Reveille, as she sailed upon the low, as the rivers flow, as she sailed upon the lonesome, lonesome water, she sailed upon the lonesome sea. And the sailors did sing, "Oh, woe betide me," as she sailed upon the lonesome, lonesome water, she sailed upon the lonesome sea. And I waited with a beating heart, not knowing what would be, as she sailed upon the lonesome, lonesome water, she sailed upon the lonesome sea. And the sailors did sing, "Oh, woe betide me, for we have seen the fate of the Turkish Reveille, as she sank below the lonesome, lonesome water, she sank upon the lonesome sea. The lightning cracked, the thunder roared, and again, louder, the world flashed, white, black, and white again. The storm ceased as suddenly as it had started. The singing faded to a distant echo. There, in the middle of the Great Umber, the boat had capsized. The boy watched as it slowly vanished under the waves. Those grey-green hands melted away. They melted away and mingled into the river from which they had risen. All on board were lost, drowned in the cold, dark waters. Of all who had boarded the ferry boat that morning, only the boy was still alive. The young boy turned around to confront the old man. As he did, the sound of the bluebells chimed on the wind. The boy watched as the old man became paler, dissolving into the air before his very eyes. And then, the old man was gone. He had simply vanished, gone in a thin wisp of swirling smoke, a smoke that faded and blended with the early morning mists. And so, it happened. The prophecy had been fulfilled. Please press the like icon. It really helps with the algorithm. Click subscribe to be notified of further installments. You can find more information and other videos at mortalcritters.com. The Mortal Critters ebook is available at Amazon, and the paperbacks are available at all good bookstores.